Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Gale, Burke, and Elliott Margolis, and we're going to do another one of these 5 minus 2. And to start the evening off, Gale.
Thank you, George. I like it when we do these because we talk about current events and what's going on. And, of course, now, with President Trump in the White House, there's certainly a lot to talk about. The latest thing is something that I think was a masterstroke. He pardoned Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County in Arizona. I've been following Sheriff Joe for a number of years, and the things that he has done to keep his county safe from illegal immigrants and thugs and drug cartels, from people coming over the border, and I think it's a wonderful thing that he did. Of course, the press, like everything that President Trump does, criticizes him and also criticizes Sheriff Joe. Now, I went on the internet to get some more information because I'd forgotten some of it about what Sheriff Joe has done in the past. And guess what? I couldn't find anything. It's all about Sheriff Joe, and he lost his election. Well, he had been elected and reelected for 6 terms. The man is 85 years old. The Democrats spent a lot of money to make sure that he did not get reelected. He was convicted of, I think it was only a misdemeanor, and he was facing 6 months in jail. 85 years old. His whole life spent in helping the people of his community and his county. And Donald Trump, with a masterstroke, pardoned him. Now, I don't hear any criticism of 2 other pardons by 2 other presidents, particularly Mark Rich, who was pardoned by Clinton in 2001. He was a commodities trader who fled to Switzerland, accused of evading $48 million in taxes and illegally trading with Iran in oil. How about Chelsea Manning, whose sentence was commuted in 2017 by Barack Obama? He was the soldier that was sentenced to 35 years in military prison for passing secrets to the website WikiLeaks about U.S. operations in Afghanistan. Those, I think, bear a lot of criticism. So thank you, President Trump, for Sheriff Joe.
Gale.
Yes.
Don't you know that when you arrest somebody who is not white, you're a racist?
True.
Therefore, Arpaio is a racist.
That's right.
Okay? That is the liberal philosophy. If you say something nasty to somebody who is not white, you're a racist. Mm-hmm. So the problem with the liberals is they say Arpaio is a racist because he was just trying to protect the population that lived in his district.
Black, white, purple, or pink, it didn't matter.
The population.
That's right.
But it's like I was considered a racist because I didn't like some of the policies of Barack Obama. Didn't matter that I had a differing view of what should be done. No, if I don't agree with Barack Obama, I'm a racist. And that's what the liberals do. The liberals put tags on people, and the tags tend to stick because the press allows it to stick.
That's right.
And I mean, I think, you take all the years that Arpaio did his job and did his job well and got reelected so many times, it makes no sense. But see, the problem is the liberals don't have anything else.
That's right.
They got no ideas. They've got no solutions. So what they try to do is, well, just take a look at when President Trump and Melania went to Houston, okay? They didn't like the shoes she was wearing. There's the headline. I don't like those shoes.
What do you think they're going to make of the fact that President Trump is giving $1 million of his own money to the Houston
The
people?
response is very simple. That's all?
That's right. That's what it will be.
George, pop in here.
And you go through this thing, and they're starting to talk a little bit about how are they going to help out the people in Houston, and it's going to be a long fight to recover from that
Sure.
thing. I spent some time in Texas, a little farther north than that, and it rains there. It's like raining in a parking lot. Nothing soaks in. And we think around here that if we get a couple of feet of snow, we got a problem. 50 some odd inches of rain,
Oh, my God.
that is a huge problem. And what's getting to
Terrible.
me right now is that a lot of these people are starting to say, well, it was all caused by global warming. And I'm just waiting for somebody to figure out how it was Trump's fault that we had.
It wasn't. It was Bush's fault.
Well, it's too late to blame Bush.
No, they got to put it on President
They
Trump.
gotta
All
be
right.
Trump.
All right.
Yeah.
Then it's
It's
Trump's
his
fault
fault.
that it rained.
The
Yeah.
thing that's getting to me lately is the way things get distorted. And I started doing a little research on some of the terminology, because everybody's a Nazi. Well, NAZI is an acronym in German that translates into the National Socialist Workers' Party. That sounds kind of left-wing to me. And then they had the problem with the supporters of the Nazis were the black shirts. So what happens when
No,
they
the
have
brown shirts.
That was
They were the
Italy.
brown shirts.
No, the brown shirts were originally under Hitler,
Yeah,
before the Nazis really took hold.
yeah.
Once the Nazis took hold, it was no longer the brown shirt.
And then Hitler got rid of them.
Right.
But then you think about this free-for-all they had at Berkeley.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's coming out in black and with hoods, with masks on. It sounds an awful lot like what was going on in pre-World War II Germany. And again, it was the left that was doing this, because the party that Hitler took over was a socialist party, the left. And they did a lot of socialist kind of things, like build the Autobahn and create the Volkswagen. And at the same time, that's what is happening in this country. And it reminds me so much of Orwell's book, 1984. If you don't like the way the history is, we'll rewrite it and make it come out our way.
Well, they're rewriting the history with taking down all these.
All the statues.
Statues.
Exactly,
Oh, my
yeah.
God.
They're trying to rewrite history because they don't like it.
Well, they're looking for an issue.
Yeah, anything.
And I got wound up again last week with the head of a column in the Salem News by
Right, Brendan Walsh.
Brendan Walsh.
Yeah.
And he was essentially, supposedly doing a book review and of a book about the hillbillies in the Appalachian area. And he referenced another book about the inner city. And you start to listen to the write-ups on these things, or read the write-ups on these things, and listen to the interviews with the authors. And you find out there's a common problem there. Both the blacks in the inner city and the hillbillies in Appalachia were essentially farm people. And with the advent of Industrial Revolution and farm machinery, you didn't need a bunch of people out in the fields picking cotton, literally. You got a machine that goes through there and does it for you. And so the people that used to live in those areas said, well, what do we do now? Well, we go to the city and make the machines. And this has been the essence of the Industrial Revolution and the development of this country from 1860, 1870 on through World War II. And all of a sudden, the war is over, the big boom after World War II is over, and the economy starts to transition into a service economy. That sounds good. But the problem is, with the service economy, there is nothing between a service job like flipping burgers or working in a nursing home or some other low talent, low energy level job to all of a sudden you're a stockbroker or you're a lawyer or you're an engineer. That gap is huge, and there's no transition between it. You can't start working in a nursing home and somehow or other get smart enough to take over and become an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer.
Well, not only that, but look at the ages. I mean, if this happens to you and you happen to be in your 50s or 60s, how do you transition to anything? You can't. If you're young, then you have a chance. Or if you have some particular talent, then you can do it.
Well, one of the things they pointed out is a lot of these people that have worked in the factories got very good jobs without a high school education.
Right,
And you didn't need one.
right.
But nowadays, if you're going to work in the factory, go down here on Cabot Street, and there's a factory just before the Nissan dealer, and they're forever having signs out on their front lawn, we want to hire a CNC operator. Has to know how to set up the machine. Oh, you got to know how to program this thing. And one of my pet peeves is that this state in particular requires every student to have a foreign language credit to graduate from high school. Well, there are 26 states in this country that say you can meet that foreign language requirement by learning a computer programming language. And yeah, I took high school French, and okay, I know that fish is poisson, and that's about the size of that. And a programming language would be such an advantage to somebody coming out of high school. So,
Well, the schools now, and getting a little off topic, but the schools now don't train you for anything.
That's right.
And that's a real problem. First of all, everybody thinks that their kids should go to college. College is not for everybody. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need carpenters, we need auto mechanics, we need a lot of vocational trades. And unfortunately, one of the reasons why I was opposed to the folk school in wherever it is,
Essex,
Essex.
Aggie.
Essex Aggie,
Yeah.
is because I believe every high school ought to have a voc school, because right now you cannot get everybody that wants to go to voc school in there.
That's right.
And that's a real problem. And we have in colleges now, they drink. They don't go to class, the kids drink,
And party.
and they party.
Yeah.
So you're spending $50,000, $60,000 a year for drinking, rather than going to the voc school and learning a trade and making good money.
Well, they're doing something else now. They're protesting.
Well, yeah.
And they're getting their feelings hurt.
But I'll tell you what I'm going to protest. I was in a golf tournament a couple weeks ago at Beverly Golf and Tennis. And I'm going to protest the fact that a girl comes around in a cart for refreshments. I ordered refreshments, she said it's $6. I gave her a $10 bill. Now this is a girl that's past high school. She says, I'm not sure how much change to give you. I'm not good in math. Is it $2?
Boy.
I gave her a $10 bill for a $6 purchase, and she couldn't give me change. Now, I can't tell you that she was at Beverly Schools, but it
Doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter
No,
what
it
school she
doesn't.
was in.
No.
This is where our educational system
Yeah.
is.
That's very sad.
oh, the basic problem is that, like you say, they're focusing on feeling good, establishing self-esteem, and yeah, that's kind of important, but you build self-esteem based on capabilities and what you can do. And I make no bones about it. I got a trade school degree. I got actually 3 of them. I'm an engineer by trade. That's what I went to school to learn how to do. And it worked very nicely for me.
What is this self-esteem stuff anyhow? You can't keep a kid back a year because they're not smart enough to go forward because it will hurt their self-esteem.
Well, you can't even
Well,
grade their papers
And
because it might bother them. It
right.
might make them
You know
feel
what?
bad.
That's what you call discipline. And we're taking away the incentive for people to learn.
Well, you know what they're spending a lot of time on, too? I read this in the paper the other day. This 5-year-old kindergartner went to school, and she went up to this little boy that she knew from the year before, and she said, "Hi, Johnny, how are you today?" He got offended. And she didn't know what the story was. "My name's not Johnny. My name is Joanne." What? So the teacher heard this going on. She brought the parents in to talk to the little girl because this little boy decided that he wanted to be a girl. And his name has been changed. And she should have known that. He's a transgender, a 5-year-old. So it's this little girl's fault because she called him the wrong name? This is how sick everything is. All this political correctness, all this ridiculous, stupid stuff. You wonder why kids aren't learning much of anything?
That's why I like President Trump.
Yeah,
He throws out political correctness.
Yeah.
He tells it the way it
Yeah.
is, and people aren't used to that. But
and they don't like it.
well,
a lot of them
a
don't
lot of
like
people
it.
like. I'd be
I like
willing
it.
to bet. I'd be willing to bet that if the election was today, Trump would get reelected in a landslide.
Yeah, I think he would
because
too.
when they say, you know, polls say that his poll numbers are down, you got to ask yourself a couple of questions. Who are they polling? What is the question that they ask?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And the
I mean,
main thing is, if you took a poll on the media, what are their poll numbers
Yeah.
like? They're lower than the president's. They're lower than Congress.
well, I don't know if you can get much lower than Congress.
Yep, they
But-
did, they did.
But talking about all this stuff and giving people an incentive to do something, I want to switch gears for a second and talk about what our governor has done,
Okay.
okay? Now, if you get an EBT card, you can go to any museum in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for free or for short money, and the taxpayer will pay the difference. Okay?
Who's paying for the EBT card in the first
Well, the
place?
taxpayer.
Of course.
But what I'm saying here is, number one, with the EBT card, you can buy your drugs, you can get cash, you can get your alcohol and everything else. But now we're giving people the ability to go to a museum or someplace like that. And, you know, it's nice that you can go to a museum. But the point that I'm trying to bring out is, if we give people everything, where's the incentive to work?
Yeah.
Where's the incentive to improve yourself? I mean, we have to, you can't have everything at the taxpayer's expense, because pretty soon, taxpayer's not going to have any money. See, Trump, I think, has the right idea. Give us more money so that we can spend it and stimulate the
Exactly.
economy.
Exactly.
But I'm very disappointed in Governor Baker. Had you heard about that?
I saw a little bit about it. The thing that I was focusing more on is they're trying to change the rules on the EBT cards so that you can't buy lobster and other fancy foods, and you can't use the EBT card at the grocery store to get cash back, and no cigarettes, no alcohol. These are things that I would think of just, it's common sense. You shouldn't be spending taxpayer money on stuff like that, especially when people are having a problem getting good quality food. And the other half of this game is you go through the exercise of saying, okay, let's go to McDonald's and have a Happy Meal or something. And for the price of the Happy Meal, you can't go and buy enough groceries to feed a family. The disconnect in the funding of the food and the prices is something that it's encouraging people to do the wrong thing. You look at any of the Consumers Reports came out today at my house anyway, And you're looking at comparison of different meals. Just about everything you get in fast food is up in the 500 to 1,000 calories.
Oh, right.
And someone my size, I went through the numbers, I need something like 2,000 to 2,300 calories a day. You know, one Happy Meal, and that's a third of my day or better. It's more like half of what I'm supposed to be consuming. So you can understand where the problem gets distorted because they twist it around and they're selling whatever feels good, whatever tastes good, but it doesn't necessarily have to be good for you. And the prices are unreasonable.
Well, but, you know, I have a hard time criticizing McDonald's or Burger King or any of those places because they're very good to the communities that they're in. They have programs for their employees to go to college. They donate to the communities, and there's nobody forces you to go there.
Right.
That's free choice.
Oh, understand that.
And you can see on their menus what the calorie count is for something.
And they have improved their menus
They have
tremendously.
improved
They all
their menus,
have.
but
So that they do have a lot of
you've got
healthy
the Ronald
food.
McDonald House.
Yeah.
Without big corporations like a McDonald's or a Burger King, this country would have a lot of problems. You look at what's going on in Houston now, and how many different corporations are donating whatever they can to the people of Texas.
And the people of Texas did not wait for the government to come in the way they did with Katrina down in Louisiana. They started helping each other. They got their boats out there
Right.
to rescue people.
Well, that's the
And
Cajun Navy that showed up.
Right, the Cajun Navy
Cajun
came.
Navy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that what they
They
call
came
it?
from Louisiana, brought their boats, and they
Yeah.
went out there and
Yeah.
started helping
Yeah.
people.
And of course, President Trump was right on it.
Right.
As, you know, almost immediately. And of course, he gets criticized because he decided to go down there on Tuesday. Well, he got criticized for that. Oh, he's interfering with the rescue effort and all of that. He didn't go to Houston. He went to Corpus Christi, and where
Corpus Christi, Austin.
Austin, right. And he was down there trying to encourage the people, telling them that he was there, he was going to help them, he was going to do everything
And the
possible to
vice
help them.
president is there now.
Right.
But see,
So-
if Trump didn't go, then they'd say, well, why didn't
Why
he go?
didn't he go?
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's in a no-win situation.
Right.
And like you said earlier, he donated $1 million of
Right.
his own money.
Yeah,
How much did Obama donate to anything?
nothing.
But then when you talk about Louisiana, that particular hurricane, the system is the mayor calls the governor.
Right.
The governor calls the president.
Yep.
The mayor, who's now in jail, the mayor of New Orleans, he didn't ask for help.
No, you didn't.
And the governor didn't ask for help. But they blame Bush for not helping. And,
Two Democrats, by the way.
right,
They
so,
also blame Bush for not showing up.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again,
He only did a
He
flyover.
did a flyover.
Yeah.
And that wasn't good enough.
no.
yeah,
No.
but see, he did a flyover so as to not interrupt the flow.
Exactly.
And now,
It's exactly
Trump
the opposite of what the, yeah.
yeah.
So
I
they're
mean,
going to get you one way, coming or going.
It's a no-win situation.
The other one, the story I picked up, this is back in the days when Katrina was hot. There was an admiral from the Coast Guard. He used to go to the Y, ran the local district. And I got talking to him about what the heck the Coast Guard did. He says, what the Coast Guard did is they knew the hurricane was coming. They took all the ships out to sea behind the hurricane. So the hurricane comes in and the ships are coming in right behind it. Very clever and very well planned. You don't hear about that.
No,
It just doesn't make the press.
no.
Anything, good news just doesn't sell.
We have about 4 minutes left. So if you
I thought we
want to
just
kind
started.
of, I know,
Started, yeah.
if you want to kind of wrap it up,
Well, I think,
keep in mind, 4 minutes goes very quickly.
yeah. If you keep telling us there's 4 more minutes, there's only going to be 2. But anyway, the thing that's bothering me is that the distortion of the language, how they misuse words to create an impression like the Nazis and the alt-right and the anti-fascists and all these. I mean, yes, there are fringes on either end, and I saw a neat comment on Curora today. What should you do about them? Do about them what they did, and they mentioned some town, I didn't recognize it, where they had a rally and nobody came. The cops marched down the street side by side, and the marchers went down the street in front of them. There was nobody there, and there was one camera that showed them marching past empty sidewalks and empty buildings, and all the merchants in town decided, we're going to lock the doors and nobody's going to pay attention. And as a result, nothing happened. I think it was the Ku Klux Klan was having a parade. It was one of those. And that's really what you have to do, is ignore these idiots and hope they go away.
That's true.
Well, it's nice if you can ignore them. Unfortunately, like what happened in Boston with the free speech rally, there were only about, I don't know, a couple of hundred people that showed up, and then the Antifa showed up, and the so-called white supremacists. And they
That's a whole
started the
nother show.
problem.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show.
But the media didn't pick it up. The Globe didn't show it.
No, of course
a
not.
woman got beaten up.
Of
They
course
didn't
not.
show that. It was known as a peaceful rally.
My thing is, liberals don't understand the consequences of their actions. Just like with what I was talking about Governor Baker. When we continue to give people things without them working for it, we take the incentive away, and that's the problem with what the liberal philosophy is. I'm on Facebook a lot with this, and I say, you know, look at the consequences of your actions. And they can't.
Well, they can't think their way through it.
No.
That's the problem.
No.
No.
And
No,
as a
it's not
result,
on their
they
agenda.
create all these funny programs that are supposed to solve a problem, and they really don't. They make it worse.
Right.
And if you get back far enough, under the Clinton administration, they did a major overhaul on welfare, specifically to answer that problem of how do you make this transition between, yeah, people need help, you need a safety net, but you got to get to the point where you transition off it. Right now, you come to the end, and it's click, you're over the cliff.
You got to teach people to fish instead of giving them
That's
the
right.
fish.
That's right.
And that's the other part of the game, that the society is changing, the economy is changing, and there are too few people that are prepared to handle it.
Yep.
And with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, audience, for watching us. We hope to do this again soon. We're very happy to bring you up to date on what's going on, and we hope you appreciate it as we appreciate you. Thank you very much, and good night.